Hello and welcome to another video. And today we're going to be doing a sort of post-mortem, a retrospective of Season 4. We're going to go through Season 4, the experience with the planet of Agaris, industrial overhaul, the aerodynamics, all the logistics I had to do, the water mod, everything, and talk about what it was like playing this entire season, as I played it for a long time. I did this season for about 18 months, a year and a half or so, and it is weird actually going back to regular Space Engineers and going, oh right, I just get components when I grind stuff down because I'm not using scrap right now. So we're going to go through the whole thing. This may take a little while, but strap in, let's get through this. I want to talk about what I enjoyed about this season, what I didn't enjoy about this season, and what I would like to see aspects of this season come into Space Engineers as vanilla, as baseline. Now, these could just be like, oh yeah, this should be on all the time. These should be difficulty options that you can choose as a player, or these are horrible changes and they should never come into the base game because it just doesn't really work. So let's go through it. Now, I think I'm going to start off with the biggest thing, which is industrial overhaul. That was my biggest obstacle of the playthrough, as I had to completely learn the production mechanics of Space Engineers over again. And if we come on down here into the base to this little platform I have built up here, we can see essentially the 4 production blocks of vanilla Space Engineers. We have a basic refinery, a full refinery, a basic assembler, and a full assembler. And if you have these blocks, or really just a refinery and assembler, you don't need the basic versions. You can build every single item in Space Engineers. So any ship that has a refinery and assembler can literally do anything, which I don't really like. I understand the simplicity of it, but I think it's a little much. Where Industrial Overhaul goes and changes that, where we go into, say, the factory here, and in order to process any resource and make it into any component, we have these grinders, or crushers and purifiers in order to get the purified ore, and they come over and we've got multiple different types of refineries, like smelting them all down. And we come over here and we have got tons and tons of different processors, different assemblers that can create the various components. This is a little too much, but I do like the concept, and I have a unique idea of how we could bring some of this concept of having this production chain, very satisfactory type production chain, into Space Engineers without making it ridiculous. And that would be modules. So unfortunately, because of Industrial Overhaul, the upgrade modules are completely removed from the block, from the tree here. So I can't actually bring out those modules, but we can do something, say, like gyroscopes, because they could stand in for modules. The idea being is that you would have the existing modules, the yield and speed and such, would be shrunk down to 1 by 1. So 1 by 1 by 1 would be all modules. And you would add module slots to the basic assembler and the basic refinery as well. So there would be like 2 on the back of the basic refinery. There would be, say, 1, 2, and 3 or something on the basic assembler, or maybe even just the 1. Who knows? Whatever balances and feels good. But the idea is that with no modules attached, the basic versions and the advanced versions wouldn't have any difference in production capability. They would be able to refine the same materials and refine the same, build the same components. So whatever the basic versions can do would be sort of just the baseline. Everybody can do that. That's just what it is. Then as you added modules, they would unlock new crafting or processing recipes. So say, for example, you have a refinery and you wanted to process uranium. Well, unfortunately, under this new rule set, the refinery can't process uranium naturally. But what you can do is you can come around to the back of it and you can slap on a uranium centrifuge. And with that centrifuge, your refinery here can now process uranium. If you remove the centrifuge, it stops processing uranium. So what that does is gives you that feeling of, I need a new thing. I need a plate stamp or a advanced assembler or a microelectronics processor or something like that to build the next thing. This tech tree feeling, but it's in a form that space engineers could handle, where it doesn't massively overcomplicate it. Oh, my thing can't build this particular product? Add the module that allows it to do it. Very simple, and could be built into the game quite quickly, as we have essentially the code for add in module. It affects the production capability of the refinery or assembler, because we can already affect their speed, yield, and power efficiency. But what this would do is also give you some really cool building options. Say, for example, because we would have a couple upgrade modules on the back of the basic refinery. If I slap this on the basic refinery, the uranium centrifuge, all of a sudden, I have a small uranium processor. It's not going to be very fast. It's not going to be very power efficient. It's not going to be very high yield, because it's just a basic refinery with a centrifuge on it. It doesn't have the other modules that could be filled up with speed and yield and efficiency. But in a pinch, maybe this is all I need. Maybe I just need a basic refinery that can also modify, process a little bit of uranium. And I can save all that space. But then there's also the idea that you have a large refinery. You want it to be the jack of all trades, but master of none. You could put on every single different resource module, and it would only leave a couple spaces left for speed and yield and power efficiency. So you would have this, I can process everything pretty poorly. Or you have the one module on there. I keep using the uranium example because it's the only one that I have a good idea of what the actual thing would be called, a centrifuge. But you put on your uranium centrifuge, and then you fill the rest with power and yield and speed. And remember, we've taken those power and yield and speed, and instead of it being a 2 by 1 by 1, a long block, it's now a 1 by 1 by 1. So we have 7 slots to fill up on here. We could literally get this thing cranking out high efficiency, high speed, high yield, but only uranium. And so you can make these very specialized production capability or highly general production capability. Your choice. How do you want to set it up? Oh yeah, this is my base, and I have a refinery for each resource maxed out with the appropriate speed and yield and such for those particular resources. Or you could be like, yeah, I don't need all of that. I just have the one, and I process everything through it, and it goes slow, but whatever. I just fill it up when I then log out of the server and let it cook all night while I sleep and then go to work. And when I come back in the server the next day, I got a cargo component of like a cargo container full of processed ores without having to have so much infrastructure. It's your choice. How do you want to do it? I think that would be really cool, and it would allow us to have this system of whatever the basic assemblers can make is required to make the intermediate assemblers, and whatever they can make is required to make the advanced assemblers, and whatever they can make, blah blah blah, going on and on. But we can boil it down to something that is very easy for space engineers without massively inflating the blueprint of different ships. And this would be a very simple one-to-one conversion with ships that already have refineries and such with full modules on them. The existing legacy modules will be gone, and you just slap in some new modules. Perfect. It works. I think the best part of Industrial Overhaul is added in that way. One of the other parts of Industrial Overhaul is refining petroleum. So there was rocket fuel and gasoline. I really enjoyed using gasoline. Having a really high power density on a fuel was extremely useful, and I enjoyed it far more than I expected to. The downside is that it doesn't play well with the hydrogen gauge on your ship's status bar, so you can't actually see what your gas is unless you go and look at the tank. But it gets around the concept and the idea of having ice be power positive. I really don't like that. This is why I included the mod No More Free Energy and did some specific tweaks to it. And while I'll actually be including that mod going forward pretty much in every series I do, because I just don't like the concept that that ice is essentially pseudo coal. Like, you can just mine ice and throw it into your ship, and as long as you have an H2O2 and a hydrogen engine, you just get power? That doesn't make sense logically. I know we're playing a silly game. Like, it's a silly space game where you build ships and you can teleport around with jump drives and stuff. But it hurts my brain. And I wish that it was different. I wish that in vanilla Space Engineers it worked like with the No More Free Energy mod, where hydrogen was really dense in terms of power. You could have a full tank of hydrogen, and it would take a while to burn through it, and you would get a lot of electricity out of it. However, it took even more to make it. So hydrogen wasn't this simple thing where, oh, like, say in vanilla, I would take a basic ship, like, I don't know, something like this. I would equip it out with a bunch of hydrogen thrusters. I'd fly out into space. I could run out of fuel almost from out space and just go, oh, okay, I'll just go to a nearby asteroid, find some ice, mine the ice, and if I have an O2H2 and an engine on board, I'll just refuel. And that doesn't make sense to me. The refueling process should be very power intensive. You should have to create the fuel, and refueling your ship with a hydrogen tank should be the way you refuel it, so that when you're looking at your H2 and going, oh, it's getting low, I'm gonna have to start back, you could have ships that are capable of replenishing their own H2, but they should have to carry large amounts of batteries or full-on reactor setups in order to power that productivity to be able to make the hydrogen. I mean, I abused the fact that you could use ice as essentially coal in Season 3 because I used ice to essentially power my entire grid. It was the only option I had. I wasn't making a static grid. I couldn't use wind. I could just barely use solar as I slowly run out of energy standing here. But anyway, gasoline, playing with that made it feel really good. And I would like it to be that if hydrogen was put into that kind of state where it was a resource where you had to have excess power of solar and wind to be able to create the hydrogen, and then hydrogen in storage was essentially power, and you could use it in your thrusters, you could use it in your engines, and just like fossil fuels in the real world, the benefit you would get from having the trouble of putting all this time and effort and all this infrastructure and all the piping and such to run hydrogen on your ship was the fact that you could refuel your ship in seconds. It's the exact same reason why electric cars and such aren't really going to take off 100% until battery technology gets better, because while you can refuel your truck at a gas station in 5 minutes, you have to sit there for an hour with your car to recharge it. And if somebody's in a hurry, they're not waiting that hour. It's one of the big problems with electrical vehicles and such, is that we have to figure out a way to charge them quickly, whether that be swapping batteries or whatever. But the benefit could be that hydrogen in Space Engineers becomes that easy refueling. You can have your ship refueled almost instantly, comparatively to having to set your grid down and hit recharge. That could take 10-15 minutes while you're refueled in 20 seconds and you're flying back out there. That could be the benefit of hydrogen, and it can make it difficult to produce. You'd have to stockpile it, but it's very powerful once you have it. That's what I would like to see. Sort of a way you could have the feeling that this gasoline gave me, but in vanilla Space Engineers. So that's pretty much with Industrial Overhaul. That's the concepts that I wanted to get off from there. But the next thing to talk about is the planet itself, Agaris. It was actually really fun having to travel around the planet and search out the different resources and think about the logistics. However, it was a bit too much. It gets kind of painful when literally, if we look at the difference between my base here and the gold and lithium and such here, my base is almost on the opposite side of the planet as the gold. And it's almost on the opposite side. Well, that's in the North Pole. We're at just south of the equator. It is very far away from all these resources that I do need. Now I could possibly make a base that is better situated. Maybe here. But then if I was there, I would be farther away from my fuel, my oil sands, which I'm currently sitting on. I chose to be here for the oil sands, and for the bauxite that was just over here, and for the nitrous phosphate, I think it was there. Then there was the titanium, which was over there, and there was the thallium over there. So it's got pretty much everything in this region except the far-flung resources, the gold, the lithium, the platinum, uranium. I like the concept of having to travel around and gather resources, and having certain resources spawn in, say, certain biomes, or certain resources spawn on certain planets, such as like what scarce resources that mod does, and what is going to be like for Season 5 that is currently being crafted. There's going to be particular resources I can only get at certain planets, and so that will force me to travel. It'll force me to do interplanetary trips, just to be like, okay, I gotta I got everything I need except platinum. Off to the next planet. That's really good when you're setting up a narrative and you're trying to make a YouTube series or something, because it keeps you moving and it gives you a challenge. But when you're just playing normal Space Engineers, you kind of just like the normal resources spawns, right? You basically get absolutely everything you need to build anything in Space Engineers just a few kilometers away from wherever you land on the planet. And I know that to be true because the resource spawns in Space Engineers are fixed. They're always going to be the exact same place, the exact same resources. The worlds, like if you try to make a new world and there's like a seed or something like that, that doesn't matter. That like handles your trees and your grass or whatever it is. That doesn't affect the ores. Those are fixed in the ground. So there's a guarantee that if you ever had a save in Space Engineers and you were like, there is absolutely zero cobalt or something like that in this area, I can't find it. That must, like, the only cobalt you found was 15 kilometers away. You missed it. There is cobalt closer because it is laid out in a grid across the entire planet. It's funny, if you find a resource node, go north, you'll hit another one. It's a line straight up and down the planets, essentially. It wiggles a little bit, but if you go north and east, pretty much at every resource node, like go in the cardinal directions, you'll run into another one. Which is good if people just want to randomly stumble into resources and you want to just like build, but it's kind of boring for me. I like that challenge of going like, I wonder where this is and I have to find it. And me going, I've searched for this before, this particular resource. I know there's iron in those mountains because that's where iron spawns. That would be really cool if that was the concept. You could say, oh yeah, this resource spawns only in the desert on Earth-like. Even just that. Having to go, oh, I'm in the temperate or polar region. I have a base up and going. I need gold. Oh, gold only spawns in the desert. I gotta go to the desert. Just that would be cool enough. You don't need these like hundreds of kilometers trips I made. Like I would literally get in my C-130, I'd fly out from here, and then I'd put in my autopilot to go to gold, and then I'd just sit here and fly at like this speed, and I would just fly to gold, and it would take me an hour to get there, and it would take me, I would land and I'd fuel up and I'd gather all the gold, and it'd take me an hour to fly back. That is ridiculous. It was stupid. It took way too long, and at the end of it, I'll be honest, there was some times where I'd be like, okay, I would have gone and done this, and I would have brought back another, whatever a full load was, like 80,000 ore or something like that. But I don't have time. I'm just going to spawn 80,000 ore in the system. Let it process, and it's like I flew there and back. Yeah, I just cut that out of the video. Sure, I did that. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It needed to be happening because I couldn't just randomly spend a couple hours some nights going like, oh man, I didn't do cargo runs last night. I need to make a video today, but I didn't spend the 5 hours of prerequisite work in order to get all the various resources I need to build the thing. So I would just spawn it in. So while this was a little extreme, I do like the concept of having various regions of planets, or various planets have either more of a resource or higher chance of spawning, or completely exclusive to that region or planet itself. That way you can actually make it so, like, again, one of the cool things I do like about Agorist is it's great for multiplayer situations. If you think about it, and you have these motherload resources, and say the only place you can get this entire resource is at this one location, the entire planet, that's the only place you can get the resource. Oh, you damn well sure there's going to be some conflict over that. And I like that. That's really great for multiplayer. Because then people are like, oh yeah, I'm going to go to the iron node. You run into people because it makes these common areas of like where people congregate. It's like everyone going to the watering hole to quench their thirst. You're bound to run into some other animals there. If you do that in Space Engineers and you make it so that there is only this resource in only this area of a planet, anybody living on that planet will eventually run into each other there. And they'll run into your mining rigs. And they'll go like, oh man, he's there. Look, he's got that node. Ooh, that's a lot of gold. Let's take it over. Conflict. Fun stuff for multiplayer. Alright, so that's the planet itself. We talked about Industrial Overhaul. We talked about the planet. We've already gone for 25 minutes, so we're going for a long time here. Aerodynamics and water mod. I think I can kind of do both of these at the same time, because they're sort of similar in the concept of it's giving you so that additional realistic physics and such. I can't sing more praises about it. I absolutely love aerodynamics. I don't think I will ever play another Space Engineers save without aerodynamics being installed. Having planes, the fun of flying a plane, having to worry about my lift, like when I pull back, I don't like have a huge plume of thrust pushing me in the other direction. They're so fuel efficient, like fully fueled on gasoline and not flying that hard or that fast. Like the C-130 that I built in the current game settings could probably max out around, say, 85 meters a second, I want to say, if it was pushing like its engines on full bore and it wasn't carrying any load. But you're using your gasoline to the max, where if you drop that back to, say, 65, you're not going as fast, but you're only using your gasoline a fraction of what it was before, because you're not pushing against the atmosphere so hard. I could have loiter times of just flying in a circle above my base for some of my planes for like hours, if not days of time. Like, I think that now that I've converted this to uranium, it's got a reactor in it instead of gasoline, this A-10 could literally circle my base for weeks if I fully loaded it with uranium, because it's so goddamn efficient. I absolutely love aerodynamics, flying the planes, needing to lift off, needing a flat area to land. I probably will never go back to normal Space Engineers and have to just fly grids that pick up and like there's thrust all the time in every direction. I don't like it. I just don't like how that plays anymore. I like planes, so I'm going to continue using aerodynamics. The same thing with water mod. I just can't get over how fun it is, especially when they did the update partway through where they added the like, instead of it needing the flotation blocks, you actually needed to seal the hull, and if you burst the hull in different parts, you could sink the boat quite quickly by just flooding it. That's so cool. Like, I just can't sing the praises enough. This game needs water. Like, I can't think of a time where I would ever, if I had the choice, not play with water mod, because it's boring as hell, in my opinion, to drive across or do whatever on these flat lakes of ice. It's so silly and so unrealistic and not fun at all, where you have water, you have oceans, and you can go down into them and go to the depths of the ocean floor, and you can explore down there and set up bases, and there's minerals and stuff you can mine from the ocean floor. It makes it that hard logistics challenge, like the platinum, if I fly over to that. Which, is this in the air or is right down? Oh, it's right down at the platinum. So if I go right down to the platinum, it's dark as shit down here. But look at that. There's platinum nodes. There's the platinum that I was mining up and working on throughout the series. If you hide a really rare resource down at the bottom of the ocean, that's cool. You need to make a submarine. That's fun. I really enjoyed making the wave diver and coming down for various resources. But I'm not sure if this application of atmospheric and water would be appropriate to be in vanilla Space Engineers. They are obviously working on VRage 3. They've been showing off concepts of water and aerodynamics in there. My only hope and my only guess is that eventually they will say, oh yeah, we're going to come out with Space Engineers 2, and it's going to have the updated physics with water and such. So I don't think I can ask for any water or aerodynamics in the current Space Engineers. It's not really going to happen. But I will continue to play the mods until that occurs. What else is out there? I kind of think that's pretty much it for the Season 4 retrospective. One thing I wish I did more was trade with the NPCs. I think I removed, yeah, for the final battle, actually removed all of their grids, just so that the final battle wouldn't be so laggy. So it's literally the only grids left on the planet were my grids here and the couple enemy ships that were out here on the harbor. But I should have traded more with them, and should have done more of their missions and bought more of their ships and such. I kind of wish I did that. Unfortunately, I just ended up building my own stuff and hanging out here, but yeah, it would have been nice. Other than that, I was man, at the end of Season 4, I was actually kind of like, I'm done. I played this too long. I kind of want to quit. I want to go and do something new. So that's why I wanted to get her finished. There was a couple errors in the last couple episodes. Like, I had that little go-kart right here, and I attached it to the bottom of the Sky Factory, but when I did my launch, it broke off, and I didn't notice until the end of the finale. And I was like, crap, where the hell did that little thing go? But I've already recorded everything, so there was no opportunity to go back and redo it and with it attached. So I lost my little go-kart, but don't worry, I'll copy this design, I'll blueprint it, and we'll make the go-kart in a future world. Maybe even make it with 2x2 wheels now that we can do that. And what else? Oh yeah, my tower was disconnected from power in the last fight, and so the enemy was just pounding on my shields. Oh well. I noticed it in the editing. I actually didn't notice when I was playing it. I was just like, oh god, big ship, run away. And I wasn't really even paying attention to the fact that the tower wasn't shooting at all. So, oh well. It still wouldn't have changed what would have happened. It was, last episode was like, okay, you guys are going to show up with the big fuck off destroyer with its 500mm cannons everywhere, and you're going to absolutely bombard my base, and I'm going to run. But until then, I'm going to fight back as much as I can, which is why I was dive bombing the ship that was up here and taking out the little drop turret things that were over there and such. But overall, Season 4 was really interesting. I learned a lot. It was really fun, but I'm also glad it's done. And with that, that is the retrospective for Season 4. we are going to move into Season 5. The guy is currently building it as fast as he can, as he's very interested in getting it out there as well. It'll be available for everybody on day 1, as far as I understand, so that people can follow along in their adventures if they would like. And he's putting in a bunch of the new automaton stuff, AI blocks and such, the event controller, to create some story. So I have no concept of what it's going to be, besides the fact that it's going to be a nice big solar system with real orbits and such, so that I'll have to real orbit my way through the solar system to save on fuel. And that there's actually going to be some story, and I need to pay attention to it. But that's going to be it for now. Thanks for watching, and good hunting out there, fellow space engineers.